That's just me.
All this and more. And you are hot.
Is the gain hot, or is that just me?
I don't know. Could be both.
You're fucking really hot in my ear holes.
Mm-hmm. We're coming at you.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
Back for another exciting adventure in recovery.
I can't believe we're doing this. You know, we took off exactly like the amount of time our wives were out of work for the summer. Like we did our last show the week before school ended, and then did your wife go back?
She's threatening to go back today because, you know, she's a librarian, but apparently there's a lot of setup that's involved.
Well, they get books in.
Yeah.
There are books that need to be banned. They have to go through all that shit. And, it's...
yeah, they are banning books. And I was shocked to hear that there's an upswell of book banning going on.
Yeah, all over the country.
Yeah.
Can you hear the dogs? I bet the fucking audience can.
I mean, I hear them in the distance, locked up.
Like dogs in the mist.
Like caged animals.
Like us, caged animals down here in my stinky basement. All right, should we begin?
We're going to begin.
Begin.
And we're back. Welcome to Recovery in the Middle Ages, the podcast about two middle-aged suburban dads and their pursuit of life, love, and recovery. I'm Natx.
I'm Mike R.
And boy, do we have a show for you.
That's all I can do with that.
Today on RMA, Mothers Lock Up Your Daughters, the boys are back for an all-new season of RMA. It's season 4, and literally anything can and will happen. Today, we catch up on the summer and talk recovery, addiction, and the movie Painkiller on Netflix. And catch up on all the Monkster-related news. All this and more today on a very, very special edition of RMA Season 4, motherfuckers.
Yeah, Season 4.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I can't remember how we used to do this.
I don't either.
I don't know.
Well,
I got a new stick of deodorant today.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it have aluminum in it?
Well, the instructions said to remove the cap and push up bottom. I mean, I can barely walk, but when I fart, it smells like roses.
Just starting strong this time.
Strong, yeah. I don't know. After I gave that $200 to a dominatrix, I was strapped for cash.
Dun, 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 dun. Listeners are running away screaming.
Yeah. How's the family? Because, I'll never forget my grandfather's last words before he died.
What was that?
Stop shaking the ladder, you little bastard. I can't. Does this even work any fucking more?
It's working.
I can't even fucking hear it.
It's working.
You would think like we had all this time that we would have been a little better prepared.
I'm very, very excited to be back. I have to say, this whole summer, every week that went by, I was just thinking about the show. I was watching the posts. I'm telling you, this whole but it's an anxiety.
Lying bastard.
It's an anxiety, and someone said recently, can't remember who or where, that anxiety is a future. Was this you that said anxiety is a fear of the future, things to come? Depression is thinking about things in the past. So it's like a backward-looking fear.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So I have both. I'm doing both at once.
I saw that on the internet. It must have been a meme or something going around. But
so, it's one of those things. Like,
I don't know. I'm very low in the anxiety department now.
I'm trying to be. Right now, doing the show, I have to say, I feel no pain.
No depression or anxiety?
No.
You're
maybe, you know what? Anxiety, I always have a healthy level of anxiety.
Your baseline anxiety would be me in the middle of a panic attack.
I think so, because I was explaining to someone the other day, they're like, wow, you're so anxious. Dare they say neurotic, but really...
Dare they say?
But really, my theory is that this is evolutionary. And so I try to embrace my anxiety. So for me, if I feel anxious about something, it means it's important and I have to do it right now.
Okay. So what do you feel like we have to do right now?
Right now, we have to talk about we've had a lot of Monkster Soberversaries
Yes.
that I wanted to acknowledge. A lot of big ones.
Okay. Go ahead.
Some you know of. Some you maybe will read about on Melissa's magic Google Doc.
Okay.
But the most recent that I heard about is your
That's
4-year fucking, you did it.
Yes.
And did you guys hear the dogs going nuts?
4 years today. I had my last drink 4 years today in a little cabin in upstate New York.
Yeah.
In the town of Woodstock.
Boy, that sounds romantic, but really it was painful, right?
The hangover was terrible. I was looking at pictures of myself yesterday with that hangover, and I was hiking, and I remember how bad I felt during that hike. And, you look back on photos when you were in the middle of all the drinking and partying, and you'd never really know by looking at a person, like what's going on internally inside their head, because everything looks perfectly normal, but inside I was like crying.
Don't you think when I was in those states, though, I imagined everybody knew what was going on, but
Sure.
they really don't.
I mean,
you
everybody
always think everyone's looking at you, but there you are. You're suffering. You're having a hangover.
Right.
You're regretting.
Right. And
You're having anxiety, maybe. You're having depression, maybe. Regrets. Then what?
Then I decided, okay, I need to take a little break from the alcohol. And at that point, it was such an inchoate thing. Like, I had no idea that I was going to stop long term. I just said I needed a break, right?
Interesting, yeah.
And my typical MO in these things is I'll take like a week off, or a couple of weeks. Or like in the 90s, I took like 3 years off, right? But always go back. I would always go back. And it wouldn't be that long, because like if the stress would come up, things would, and I thought alcohol was helping me with the stress. And of course it wasn't. It doesn't. It's a lie. I mean, if you come home at night and you drink a couple of drinks to relax, you're not relaxed.
No.
You're relaxed for 10 minutes. You relax for 20 minutes, and then you become, or at least I became, cranky, irritable, all that other stuff.
Discontent?
Discontent.
Ted? Discontent. Is it discontent or discontented?
I was discontented, I didn't feel good. But anyway, so for whatever reason, this time I decided to make more of an effort. I started listening to the podcast. I started reading the books, the Annie Grace book. I briefly entertained the notion of going back to AA and dismissed it. And I'm glad I did, because that never proved to work for me. It may work for you. I don't know. Like other people.
Works for a lot of people.
Just not for me. And I just kept going. So I really kind of had to have a day at a time mindset.
But when you were about to relapse, you got an email from, you were scrolling through Facebook and you saw.
Well, I don't like the term relapse, number one. So
to lapse again.
I was thinking maybe I should just call this whole thing off and resume, because life was starting to get it's getting hard. All of a sudden I was starting to project into the future. I was like, I have all these work events I have to go to, and everyone's going to be drinking, and poor me, I'm going to be miserable. And then I saw on Facebook you had liked something on the Recovery Elevator page.
So I saved the day?
Yeah, yes. It was you. It was you.
I knew it.
I said, well, shit, if there's somebody else in this town, in this one-horse town, that I can reach out to, I needed a sober buddy is what I needed.
Not an ad for Sober Buddy.
No, that doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Sober Buddy's still around.
It is?
But I was going to be your sober buddy.
Right.
Yes, you're talking about sober.
And then I saw you somewhere. I don't know where.
Well, we would always run into each other at these, it was like a Cub Scout pick up your shit for the car thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was those. We were in Cub Scout. Our kids were in Cub Scouts. Mostly I hung out with your wife because she was running the group for a bit.
You hung out with my wife.
Yeah, that didn't come out right. But
mostly you hung out with my wife.
I knew her better than you.
You know my wife better than I know my wife?
Not in the biblical sense, really.
What?
Come on.
You had sex with my wife?
I said not.
I don't have to rethink the sober buddy shit.
They did not. I'm not even going to say.
Did not have sex with that woman?
Stop it. Not a single time. Not a single time.
Not a single time.
Not a single time. And a couple of times we would run into each other, and I have to say, and I've said this before, every time I would start to talk to you, I would pull off my, there's a usual shtick that I do, not my pants. Jesus, settle down. So I would have the regular shtick I would do with other parents. Just, hey, how are you?
Okay.
Just regular shtick, right. Just to be friendly and to, say hello. And every time I would do that with you, because sometimes I would prod I'd say something I thought was funny that I didn't think you would know was funny or something.
Okay.
And you would immediately come back with something funnier or more interesting.
Really?
And then I would start, and then I would go like playing tennis. And more than once, I would sit there having these exchanges with you, and I'd be like, man, this guy is cool. Like I gotta like hang out with this guy. And we used to run into each other.
Yeah.
And I would keep testing it. I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna throw this reference at him. And you got all the references. And it made me realize
Witty repartee.
this guy knows me in a way he hasn't figured out yet.
Right. Well, our wives did push us together to
Yes.
go to the show, the Yes concert.
We did that, so we had these interactions, the famous Yes show where we were sort of set up on a play date.
Right.
It was pretty emasculating, but we had fun.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I got drunk.
And and then you realized this guy also might be an alcoholic.
I'll tell you exactly why. It was two things. Even before the thing that I found on Facebook where you'd liked one of Paul Churchill's posts or recovery elevator. I remember you made a comment. It was at Cub Scouts or it was just something, and you said something along the lines of, I really wish they would open more things in this town for people to do that don't involve alcohol.
Right.
And I thought that's a very interesting thing for somebody to say. Why would someone say that? And so that's when I started figuring there might have been some there, And I'm sure we've told the story on the show, like back in the early days. We're just too, our brains are fucking Swiss cheese at this point. We don't remember anything. But yes, that's when I came up to you. It was in late 2019, or it might have been early 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, and said something like, "Hey, I saw you."
Yeah. So you made some comment. Yeah, like, you like Recovery in the Middle Ages? I mean, shit. You like, what is the other one?
Recovery Elevator.
Recovery Elevator. Okay. And I was like, yeah, why? We were like feeling it out. I'm like, is he going to find me out? Like, here we go. But I'm like, then, if he's asking me, the only people who know that stupid show.
Right. Who else would be on a Recovery Elevator site? Yeah.
And then I just went for it. And I said, yeah, I'm a degenerate alcoholic.
Yeah. I came into your store and we had that discussion. Now I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that same day, we were like, hey, let's start a podcast.
Well, once we started,
bizarre, right?
once we were out of the closet, so to speak, we began discussing stuff in recovery, like things that I was thinking. And then the conversations were getting good. And I was just like, and I just started getting into Dopey and other podcasts. And so my brain was turning, and I said something like, hey, we should put this on a podcast. This is pretty funny, or this is good. These are good discussions. And then you said, oh yeah, podcasts. I am good at that. I have my own podcast already.
Oh, right. I did.
And I was like, oh, he's already got a podcast, And then you sent it to me, and I fully expected it to be horrible. And I fully expected it to be well, I just assume everybody sucks at like recording, just because a lot of stuff I hear on podcasts are just awful, especially back then. It's much better these days. But then I heard it and I go, this sounds pretty good. I think this sounds really good. I'm like, he knows what he's doing. Didn't listen to the show much, like too closely, but I think
that's okay.
That was your
the Oyster Bay one.
No,
I sent you the demo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, so that one I did listen to. The Oyster Bay one, not so much, but I was like very impressed, and I said, man, if we can do it and make it sound like that, we got to try this.
Right.
And
we did it, and we made it sound like that, and
here we are.
Yeah,
season 4.
So
here we are.
So do you remember, like, right before we ended? So my message to you folks out there who are still struggling is, I don't know why it stuck for me this time, but it stuck, and the only reason it stuck is because I kept trying. So don't give up. Eventually, the door will open, and you will walk through it.
And you're not the only one who, I mean, I've heard this before. In fact, I was just listening to an interview on Dopey, Jessa Reed or something. But she said that exact same thing.
Really? I didn't even listen to it.
Yeah. She's interesting. That's an interesting show. If you guys want to listen to something interesting,
Dopey? Yeah. I think people know about Dopey.
You guys know Dopey. Well, that particular interview
was
really weird. But she said the exact same thing. It was like, when did you decide to stop drinking? And it was the same kind of thing. It was like, you know what? I'm going to try it for a week. And she had no idea that was going to be the last time. So, maybe play games with yourself. I did the same thing. I said to myself,
play with yourself.
Play with yourself. I said, I'm just going to do it for a week. And then the longer it got, I just, and it worked out. So here we are.
Yeah. So we have some other people in addition to me who have achieved notable distinctions.
Yes,
right?
and the Inner Sanctum and the Monksterverse alike, we've been getting tons. And over the summer, I was like, oh, we got to remember this because so many Monksters out there had very, very important soberversaries, and we're here to acknowledge them.
Okay.
Your good work. I think it was the...
Yeah, I'm trying to... I've forgotten everything. I'm just so old.
Well,
all right, go ahead.
Today we'd like to recognize and hold up in high esteem the following Monksters who have celebrated soberversaries for July and August. David K. with 82 months. Jeff M. little over 4 months and counting.
Yay.
Russell H. with 3 months.
Yeah, we got a voicemail from Russell.
Fuck yes. Yeah, he said, thank you, Russ. Brendan S. 6 years.
Wow, that's a good one.
Nice. And
it's
then
a good 6.
The famous Rob S. with 21 months.
Wow, awesome.
Hulk Hogan has 7 months.
Really? Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out the other day.
And finally, the soberversary is not finally. I'm sorry. That should have been read in June that we forgot. Thank you, Melissa, for putting this together. Mark N. and wife Renee have 5 years.
Yeah, man.
Couples in recovery, bitches. Joanna T. with 9.5 years.
Wow.
That's a long ass time.
That is a long time.
Not quite 10, though. So, Actually, by the time it's probably 10 now. Oscar
Hopefully.
L. with 90 days.
Yeah, Oscar.
Jill
Go.
S. Jill S. with 9 months.
All right.
But one very important soberversary that I neglected to read just now deliberately so I could put it at the end.
Yeah.
G. Money Smooth. Grant Boykin, the editor at large of the RMA Newsroom, Inner Sanctum regular and good friend of the show. He's got 3 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
And congratulations, Grant. We've been along with you on this ride that we've been taking together, and it's just really great to see you doing good. And
round of applause to all of our contestants. Thank you.
Round of applause.
Thank you for being sober. Yeah. And congratulations, guys. It's amazing. It feels great. I hope you all feel great, whether you got 1 day or 100 years. And
we've got a Monkster also, Queen Liz of Monkster Haven, that's been dealing with some health issues as of recently, and we'd just like to extend all of our best wishes, and please send prayers and
get well
vibes.
Soon. Get
well, Liz. The heart and soul of the Inner Sanctum, Queen Liz of Monkster Haven. We're thinking about you, and hang in there.
Hang in there.
Been through worse with less. That's what I always say. I've been through worse with less. And we all have.
All right.
So we can get through this.
Yes. Okay. What's next?
Should we have a show?
You want to do listener voicemails? Do you want to get caught up on what we did this summer? How do you want to structure this unstructured disaster of a show?
Well, I think a good way to proceed, we just spoke about the Monksters. Let's now hear from the Monksters. Monksters.
It's transition. Russell left a couple of messages, but I think we're just going to do...
Yeah, we do have a phone number, guys, that you can call.
Yeah.
And basically, you just call this number.
Do you want to know what the number is?
I'm trying to look for it.
I got it.
You have it? You just call the number. Nobody picks up the phone. Don't worry. Don't be nervous. You get 3 minutes, and just say whatever.
I broke it. I broke Google Voice.
You can just say whatever, and we will be happy to play it on the show.
It's 516-888-6297.
It's the Monkster RMA hotline.
Yes. Yeah, nobody will pick up the phone, I assure you.
I promise.
It might ring, but we will not pick it up.
Someone from Google, most likely a robot, will listen to you.
All right. So let's listen to Russell H. from Pittsburgh.
Russell H.
Mike and Nat, this is Russell H. from shitty Pittsburgh, a.k.a. Shitesburg. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Can't wait to get you guys back on so we get some good recovery messages. I've been doing the smart recovery, and I find it so much better than AA, NA. I'm also went to a couple of Dharma meetings, which was an amazing experience, very spiritual. So good suggestions for others to maybe try some other avenues. Thanks, guys. Hope you're all well. Enjoy the summer.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks, Russell. It's funny because you know how Google Voice will do a, what do you call it, translation?
Oh, yeah.
Not a translation, but a transcription.
Transcription, yeah.
So I'm reading it, and it bears very little resemblance to what's actually being said, because according to this, it says, it's so much better than anal.
What? I mean, he's right, but come on.
I've been doing the smart recovery, and I find it so much better than anal.
That's a great marketing slogan.
Anyway, I'm looking at that. I'm like, wow, is he going to say that?
Can you imagine how many more people would join Smart Recovery if that was their marketing slogan? Smart Recovery, so much better than anal.
And he also mentions Dharma recovery meetings, which are interesting. I have yet to go to one. You know anybody that's gone to them besides some of the folks we've already talked to?
Do you remember, I think it was Jameson Jed came on the show to talk about his Dharma meetings.
Yeah.
I feel like I either read the book about how, the book.
We did. We reviewed it on the show.
Okay, so that's how I know what Dharma recovery is. It's
a Buddhist thing.
I love it.
Buddhist-centric.
Buddhism is, I love Buddhism. Anytime I take a minute to read about it or hear about it, I'm always attracted to it.
Some of my best friends are Buddhists.
Yeah. And I just would like to say, Russell, thank you so much for calling, but this is not a competition on which, recovery thing works better. But, we appreciate it. NA and AA are old stalwarts, and lots of people rely on them. But, I mean, I agree that I found a lot more freedom in intellect and smart recovery, and the way we're doing it just sort of speaks to me. So hang in there.
Hang in there.
And
I got more.
Keep it up. There's another one.
Okay. This is David, an American David in London.
Oh, cool.
An American David in
I
London.
like that one.
There may be some audio issues on this one, so let's see how it goes. Because I listened to this yesterday, and I was like,
all right, well, let's give it to the Monksters.
Let's give it to them.
Hello, Mike and Nat. It's David, American Dave in London, Dave K. Just wanted to thank you for your big up for my 80 months, which is quite cool, obviously.
Nice.
So I can give you the 60-second version, but we can have a chat anytime that you want. You have my number now. The situation is, quick story. Let's put it that way.
It's like a remix.
Born in Florida, adopted. Moved to Long Island when I was 7 days old, with what I believe to be my parents, obviously. Grew up in Belmore, been through it all, high school.
Here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the transcription.
Okay. I'm really sorry, David, but I think we're...
All right.
The transcription will be talking a lot about anal.
Here's the problem with the transcription. Thank you for your big up for my 80 months, which is quite cool, obviously, so I can give you the 60-second version, but we can have a chat anytime you want. You have my number. Now the situation is, well, quick story, Florida. Caught up for me in London, and then I continuously drink up until 8 months ago. I have since I've been here, but I would love to chat to you guys, and I love being here anymore. So we're going to keep this anonymous because you can message me on Instagram, and so the transcription is also shit. So listen, David, congrats again on 80 months. Call back, leave another message.
I want to hear
apologies.
from you. Yeah. Or I'll do you one better. We should be bringing back the Meet the Monksters segment.
Yes.
And I'd like to formally, we're going to do the one that we had to cancel because of my freak out. The last show we were going to have...
You had a freak out?
Well, not a freak out, but I just was like, I can't do it. I'm not ready.
Oh, right.
And I guess it wasn't really a freak out. But, so let's hear the whole story. So we'll set that up, and it'll be cool to hear it. So thanks for calling in. Didn't we have a Rhina message?
We got a Melissa message.
A Melissa.
Hey y'all, this is Melissa K, aka Den Mom, as Nat has so endearingly titled me. I'm calling in based on the request in the last show to save the Google hotline. So I'm going to use my time just to counter some of Mike's dad jokes, because I got some mom jokes. Why is the computer so smart?
Why?
because it listens to its motherboard. What 3 words solve Dad's every problem? Ask your mother. What did Mommy Spider say to Baby Spider?
What?
You spend too much time on the web.
I like
And
that
this one's
one.
for Mike. Roses are red, violets are blue. My mom jokes are funnier than you.
Hey.
So, to all the moms and Mr. Moms out there, remember, good moms let their kids lick the beaters. Great moms turn them off first. XOXO, peace out. Love you, monksters.
All right.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. Yes, the den mother of RMA.
That's wonderful content. Thank you.
Oh, God, that was good.
I
love the accent. I think that was the first time I heard her speak.
The funny thing is, like, I was just going to say, you have this idea when you read people's writing what their voice sounds like, and then when you actually hear them, it's like, holy shit,
love it.
She's from the South.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you for all your help. You know, we should have put you on the spot a couple times. Like, could you put that together for me? So, thank you, Melissa. That was cool.
I got another one.
Another
We
one.
could just do this all day. It's like people finally actually all called as soon as we went on vacation.
And it's not just to complain, which I love. Like, where the fuck are you?
No, those come by email.
Yeah, we did get a couple.
Hey guys, y'all told us to call, so I'm doing my duty and calling, so they don't shut down your number. My name's Andrew, alcoholic here. Got clean January 27th, 2017. I was a chef for many years, like 20-ish years or so, and I got out recently, 2 years ago, after COVID, and now I'm in grad school going for my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling.
Yeah.
Currently, I'm actually a CPSW, which is the state of New Mexico, as a certified peer support worker. My job is to provide resources to addicts and alcoholics to help them further their recovery. I think that my greatest resources I can actually offer people is a community. But you guys are great. I love listening to your show. Thank you guys for everything that you do. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm 39, so I haven't reached my 40s yet, but I'll be 40 this year. So
Hey, 35
when I saw recovery in the Middle Ages, I was like, well, let's give it a try.
Close
I'm
enough.
middle age now. That was kind of hard to accept, but now that I've accepted it, I'm like, all right, let's do this. But you guys give me hope. I love the stories about your kids. I don't have kids yet. Me and my partner, that is something that we are currently discussing. But your stories are kind of like a guideline for me. You guys are mapping out what I can expect from an addict perspective, and I fucking love it, man. You guys excite me. I look forward to listening to your show every day. So keep up the good work. I love all of the resources you guys provide. Everything about you guys is amazing. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Much love.
Oop.
That guy
Thanks,
was getting
man.
choked up a little bit. Wait, who is that?
From Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Who is that? I missed.
That's John. Andrew
Andrew
from
that was awesome.
Albuquerque.
Man,
Don't be a jerky in Albuquerque.
that was cool. Thank you.
I bet I went to Albuquerque for work once.
You
Right?
can't even spell Albuquerque.
You don't have to. Why would you?
Okay, I'm going to ask you.
So
after this.
I went there twice for work actually, but one time I stayed downtown and I was walking around and I've never seen so many drug addicts in my entire life, just walking around the downtown, tweaking their fucking brains off. And I don't remember if this was while Breaking Bad was on the air or before it, but there's a park near the hotel I was staying at, and I walk around the corner. There's just some guy standing in the middle of the park, barfing his guts out all over the ground. And I was like, wow, this place is wild, man. And, I was still drinking then, but I wasn't, but it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, this is a little scary around here.
Maybe it was an NA meeting.
The whole city?
Yeah, they're all outside of a church.
I mean, I'm not trying to run down Albuquerque, Andrew. I'm sure there's nicer places than the downtown district where everybody hangs out and does drugs. But
There's plenty. It's and you mentioned also Portland when you visited was kind of that scene.
yeah,
That's unfortunate.
Albuquerque was not as bad as Portland.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but damning with faint praise, as they say.
Yeah, thanks for calling though. 39. I regret to inform you, you're middle aged. But what I was going to say is middle age is sort of like a state of mind. So you can identify, if Rhina is any example, he was, I think, 34 or something like. He was a little younger, and he identified as middle age. You see, so
speaking of which,
you can do it.
Dude, it's Ryan from Chicago. Ryan Johnston, Rizanti. Man, it's the end of July right now, and I asked on Facebook when the next show would be, and you guys had sent me sometime in August.
And we were not lying.
Left the voicemail in a while, and I listened to the most recent episode. You said, Ryan, please call leave a message, but it really meant anyone because Google was going to disconnect the number or whatever. Anyway, here's my message. I'm doing okay. I'm still on MAT. Still do 12-step in the mornings. Cool. I have picked up a marijuana habit along the way. I don't claim, full sobriety at all. I really don't. But I've been in a lot darker places. This is kind of like me inching towards the life I ultimately want. And there's plenty of bad days where I say, why am I smoking pot? And it's not like I'm doing it around the clock or anything. I do it at night generally only, but it's just one of those things, man. Like, that's where I'm at right now. And I don't deny it. I am unemployed at the moment. My job, 17 years, I had to quit. It was making me super miserable, not because drugs or alcohol or lack thereof, but just because it's a shit job. And sometimes just time to move on from a shit job. But man, I just really wanted to touch base. I'm sure y'all aren't even going to be playing this at the end of August. I miss RMA, RMA Nation. I got to get back there in the Discord family. And I just love you guys, man. And I miss you. I can't wait for the show to come back. I hope everyone, RMA Nation is doing well. And peace. Love you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
That's great.
Is pot medically assisted treatment?
I think
How
he
would
was,
you define that?
Well, it depends. When he says MAT, he's talking about something else.
I'm just tossing that idea out into the ether, like maybe cannabis is medically assisted treatment.
My official answer is if it's prescribed, maybe it qualifies.
Aha! What if he has a medical marijuana card?
And the reason he's prescribed it is to treat his substance use disorder,
or perhaps to treat anxiety, depression. Because are we not considered still sober even if we were on SSRIs?
Yeah, sure.
So maybe cannabis is.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think we have to change the way we look at it. Honestly, I mean, it's sort of there's a gut reaction. Those of us who have lived through like what would you call it, the prohibition era of marijuana.
Yes.
And so it's really hard for someone like me to kind of instantly say, yes, of course it's medically assisted treatment, because I think I could speak for Mike, we're both sort of changing this around in our head as the evidence sort of changes and as we learn more about it. So, I mean, I'm not closed off to that, being considered medically assisted treatment. Like, what would make it not? If you buy it from a dealer behind a high school? Or is that when it's not?
Well, I mean, people buy Suboxone on the street.
But would you call that? I wouldn't call that medically assisted treatment. Like,
depends on what you're using the Suboxone for, right?
Yeah.
I also have like a hangover from the Prohibition era, and maybe it's because you can use cannabis both recreationally and medicinally, that it separates it from other things like SSRIs or something. But of course, you can also use benzos recreational or
right.
medicinally. But it's funny. I was in the weed store the other day. It's why this comes up, because I need to refill my kombucha.
Is that the one in Huntington?
The one in Huntington. Okay. So I go in there and I'm like, can I get the kombucha? And they fill up my growler with kombucha, and she's like, do you want it infused? And I'm like, no, that's okay. I'll just take it just as it is. And she's like, it's really good for your
Delta 10. Which one?
Probiotics. And I'm like, yeah, I love it. And this was a new one, but she was very stoned. And
awesome.
So I'm watching her fill up the thing, and because kombucha is effervescent, right? Like all the bubbles go into the top of the jar, and she's got to tilt it and everything. And she's take a really inordinately long time, like tilting the thing just so, and like she's like, I can't get the bubbles out. I'm like, you know what? It's full enough, okay, hon. Thank you. Thank you. She's like, really? Yes, it's full enough. Thanks. I like dealing with stoners. It's like dealing with children.
God bless their hearts. We love you.
It was, I don't know, it was fun. It was fun. I like going to the weed store because, and the funny thing is, the people who were in there, the guy that came in before me was my age, and the guy that came in after me with his wife was my age. I'm like, is it only like 40, 50-year-olds that are smoking weed nowadays? Like, where are the kids?
Yeah, you're the target demographic because the kids get everything from an app or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe
they get it delivered.
They snap time it or face talk.
Or they're not getting Delta 8 and Delta 10 weirdness, right? They're getting like the real weed.
Yeah, the kids get the good stuff, I bet.
So the weed store, a couple weed stores have opened, right? Yeah. There's one in Long Island that opened in Farmingdale.
Really?
Yeah.
I hear
that they do like, there's an article in the paper, they're doing like $250,000 in business like a week. Like it's nice. Long lines, because it's scarce.
Yeah.
There's not too many because all of the municipalities around here have decided not to take advantage of the potential tax revenue because they somehow find weed to be much more dangerous than the alcohol that's available in every fucking corner store.
Well, what is it? Just a cigar store, quote unquote, where they just, or is it legitimate?
No, it's a dispensary.
And what is involved in? Do you need a prescription? Do you just show up?
You just show up. You wait online. You go in. You buy your weed, and you go home.
So they only serve deadheads aged 50 to 80. You have to have a tie-dyed T-shirt with a skeleton
marijuana fans are everywhere. I mean, it crosses all ages and demographics.
Yeah,
I think.
It's really something. Thank you for the call.
We were going to call this episode Foreplay with Mike and Nat.
Foreplay.
Because 4 years, you turned 45 recently.
I had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Belatedly.
45.
And this is season 4, right?
Yes.
So lots of crazy shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a crazy summer. I don't know. Don't you think?
Yes. It has been a full summer. It was not boring.
You went to California.
I just flew in from California, and boy, are my arms tired. Yeah, I was just getting my notes up on it because I can't remember anything.
You were just there. You were there like last week.
Well, there was a few trips this summer. As I've mentioned, my wife loves to travel. She loves to plan trips. She's just one of the, there's people like that all they think about while they're not on vacation is planning the next vacation.
Yeah, I'm that guy in my family.
It drives me nuts. But when we do go away, I'm always happy. Sort of like an AA meeting for me. I never wanted to go, but every time I went, I was glad I did. So we had these really great trips. California being the most recent was awesome. I have to say it was a low-stress trip.
Where'd you go in California?
We stayed in Hollywood at some hotel. Again, my wife planned it. And it was a lot of fun. We, visited WB Studios. We did those backlot tours.
Nice.
And that was a lot of fun. And it was really cool to see things like we visited in Back to the Future, the clock tower.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing I learned is what the word backlot meant because I did not know what it meant.
Sounds dirty.
It just, to me, I pictured a parking lot behind Target, but it's not. So in the movie biz, it's just like fake looking towns they film shit in.
Oh, yeah.
So you get to walk, and apparently what they do is they just reuse the same backlots. Mm-hmm. And the secret is, and this is a spoiler for everything you've ever watched, they just change like the lamps in the street and the handles on the doors basically and the signs, but it's almost always the same stupid like street that you're watching on TV.
So you can change the time and the era based on the stuff.
And they showed comparison. It was actually really amazing.
The movies, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So seeing WB and the kids were just really, they had a great time. And then we went to Universal, which is another one of these backlot tours, but it's a lot more involved. And they have this huge theme park, which I had no idea that was there.
That's wild.
It was amazing. I had to say, if anybody is going in that direction, the Universal theme park is like, it's like a mini Disney, and the rides are amazing. There's Harry Potter Land and Nintendo World.
That's new. That wasn't there when we went a couple years ago. Did you go to the Simpsons World?
Yes.
Did you get the giant donut?
I did.
Yeah.
And I cut it up like a pie.
Yeah.
It was so cool. But me and my kids, we were all having a blast. It was just really fun.
There's a Krusty Burger. You could get a Krusty Burger there too. But
Yep.
The line is usually long for that.
It was cool. Now, one of the things my wife did that was so brilliant is she has a friend who's like he's a travel agent type of guy. So he was giving us hints. He says, you have to do the VIP tour. And when you hear VIP, you think, God, we're never going to be able to afford that. You know, we're barely getting there to begin with.
Right.
And apparently it's not that expensive. It was like an extra $200 or something.
Yeah.
It was not bad.
You get to skip every line.
You skip every line. You have your own lounge. They walk you around past all the lines. You feel like a real, star. It's amazing. And it really wasn't, it wasn't that much more. I think the thing is you have to do it really early. And that was cool. And Noah ran into some famous YouTuber, Matt Smith, in the VIP lounge, who
Matt Smith?
Yeah, not the guy from
Matt Smith.
And we were all joking, we're like, oh, it's not Doctor Who, but so he got a selfie and he walked right up to the guy, which I was always terrible at. He's like, oh, that's a famous YouTuber. And I said, oh, why don't you go say hi? He was kidding. And he walked up to him and got a selfie.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun. I liked Harry Potter Land, and I was
that
extremely
ride is great,
dude. It was amazing. There was a couple of rides I have to say because my Max, my little guy, he's still too little to get on some of these rides, and it was really the pain.
Poor kid.
He's just right there. It's like 2 inches to get to the.
I always told him to stand on their tiptoes for those.
He didn't have enough toes left. He couldn't, and they were really strict about it. And so a couple of times I had to dip out last minute and just hang out with him.
Right.
And he was just like, he was so, but, we worked it out. I just felt terrible. It took me back. I mean, you're a tall guy. You probably didn't have those problems, but us short people, I know the pain.
I didn't have rides like that when I was a kid. But, did you notice, like, since you haven't been drinking for a few years, that the rides that mess with your, your sense of equilibrium and stuff are easier to take, or
because I'm not vomiting?
Are they harder to take? Because a couple of years ago, after a couple of years of not drinking, I went on one of those whirligig rides at St. Rocco's Feast down by the water there, and I still felt like I was going to throw up. And I was pissed because I'm like, I figured if I wasn't half hungover all the time, my inner ear would be better at this shit. Do you have any?
I honestly didn't notice a difference.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
The big difference I have to say, but I was thinking about this walking around the park. The big difference for me, sober Nat, and then before, is I couldn't enjoy these types of things.
Right.
Even though if I wasn't hungover, I was always either, on something or waiting to be on something. And there was never that I'm feeling good. I'm fully focused on my children. And that's one thing I've been able to do. If you want a reason to get sober, for me, it's allowing me. I'm present. I'm there.
Yes.
And that was the biggest difference. I'm there with them, and I just felt like I was never able to do that. I always had my head elsewhere, and so it was really enjoyable.
Do they even sell booze at Universal?
It's funny. They must. I just didn't notice. Isn't
the fact
that
neither neither one of us noticed is amazing, right?
I know that I'm going to assume they had some alcohol somewhere, but I wasn't looking for it, and it wasn't out in my face. And they tend to do that at parks. They don't like Disney. The beer isn't front and center.
Yes.
Thankfully. So yeah, I didn't notice.
Disney actually has been pushing the booze a little more the last couple of years. I've noticed because I guess they realize they're getting a more adult group of people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the millennials just are still stuck in Disney. And plus, Disney now has Star Wars and stuff. So it's it's not like it's a bunch of little kids anymore.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing, but whatever.
Yeah. They have that Star Wars cantina. And, if you're drinking, they've got some interesting looking space drinks. But yeah, there was alcohol.
You could always go around the world. Drink around the world.
At Epcot, they have it. They have this thing where you walk around a big, I don't know what it is, but it's a path that goes in a huge circle, kind of like the Hadron Collider at CERN.
Yeah,
and you go, it's just like that. In fact, it's a lot. It's all about the drinking, but the food is good too.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's whatever. That society is that way, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Not only is it not changing, it's getting bigger and bigger. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a new restaurant in town.
I was just going to ask you about that place.
And it's called The Wine Line.
Backstory on that. Do you remember when they were trying to get their license and people in town were like, sign the petition to help them get their license because the state says there's a liquor store that's too close and it's too much booze. And then the liquor store guy was like,
they're going to buy liquor from me.
We're like, no, he was like, here's a petition not to allow the wine line in. And I signed his petition, me and 5 other people. But anyway, I guess the wine line got their liquor license.
They definitely got it, and you might wonder why I was at such a place.
Why were you at such a place?
So we have these parent buddies, and I've really come to like these people. I consider them my friends now. We've been on vacation together, many of soccer games, sidelines, good people. They all know I don't drink, so it's baked in. Nat doesn't drink, so nobody offers me drinks. It's great. But once in a while, they like to plan these. There's a new restaurant in town. They all want to go, and the girls, the women, the wives are all very good friends, and the men tolerate each other. So they planned this. We all went out on a Thursday night and to try this new restaurant, and basically it was very good because it's that same chef who has the Italian restaurant down the street.
Really?
This guy is taking over all of Oyster Bay, which isn't the worst thing because there's action in town.
Wait a minute.
What?
This isn't Jesse who owns Two Spring.
No.
Right? This is the guy that owns Stellina or whatever it's called.
He bought Cardinale and Osteria, or what's now.
Yeah.
And so, he's
But it's not that chef. It's not the guy from Osteria who owns Taco Bay.
No, different guy.
Different guy.
Yep.
Okay.
And he bought the Italian bakery, called it Stellina.
Right.
And he opened that other Italian restaurant, and he opened this place.
Oh.
And he's opening a place next to it as an ice cream shop.
Really?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally an ice cream shop in town.
But it made me see that, this is what it takes to be successful. I mean, it was a Thursday night, and it was packed. And it was all people 50 to 75, couples,
drunk off their ass.
Pretty much, but having a good time. It's a cool spot. Of course.
Were they having a good time?
It appeared that way. It appeared that way. I didn't see anybody crying.
Were they really having a good time?
Deep down inside, they all hated themselves.
Yeah, I think underneath all of that conviviality was perhaps a bit of desperation.
It appeared that way.
And anxiety, and certainly depression to come.
Probably both, but I was the one sitting there going, ugh. It's just drink after drink, and it wasn't that bad. But of course, I was the designated driver. And do
they serve food?
The food was excellent. Actually, they do small plates. I had these shrimp tacos that were.
Is there anything to drink besides wine?
Well, I said not really. They've got water and I think soda.
Oh boy!
But they will come up with a mocktail for you if you ask for it.
So they have like a full liquor license there.
Yeah, they must. I mean, it was full on. So I was like, what do you have for a designated driver? And that was my line. And so she goes, oh.
That's a good line.
She looked confused. Like, why are you here if you're not drinking? Because designated drivers don't exist.
This town is 3 square miles. You could walk.
Don't you live down the road? And but she's like, no, I'll come up with something. What don't you like? And I always just don't like the flavor of bananas. So that's what I always say.
Nothing with bananas.
That's my line. Yeah. No matter what I'm ordering. What are you allergic to? What do you don't like? Not bananas, whatever it is. So, yeah. And it was good. I don't know. We had a good time, but it made me really see demonstrated loud on a Thursday night that alcohol is moving the needle in Oyster Bay.
It's back, baby. Yeah. Alcohol never left, but now it's more than ever.
I mean, there's no sports store in town, but, there's plenty of places to get blotto on a weeknight.
Yeah, well, Oyster Bay's not unique in that regard.
That's how Huntington got so big. It started with bars, restaurants.
A lot of restaurants.
Mostly alcohol.
So interesting. I had a couple of events this summer that were really heavily focused on booze. And I was in the unique situation this summer of actually enjoying myself when I went out to a couple of different things.
You enjoyed yourself?
I enjoyed myself rather than...
Sober?
Yes.
Impossible.
Rather than feeling like I was at an obligation that I had to get through to get back to my room to go to sleep. This is for the work trip that I took to San Diego, actually, in July, before we went on vacation. I actually had a good time. And that surprised me because I've been so used to the last few years going to work events, going to other, social obligations, and just sort of gritting my teeth through it. And I just kind of figured that's the way it's going to be if I'm hanging out with people who are drinking, whatever. But I kind of reframed it in my head, like that I'm going out and I'm going to have a good time. And it was kind of easy because my company threw one of these weird, lavish, freaking corporate excess parties on an aircraft carrier in San Diego.
The kind you see on shows like Dope Sick and
exactly
Painkiller.
Exactly. Right. But it's an insurance company. Right. I guess that's not
opioids being sold.
No. But but they had like 5 bars and all this food and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to concentrate on the food. And they had enough entertainment. Like you walk in on the aircraft carrier and they had a band that was like basically mimicking the Andrews Sisters singing like the Boogie Woogie Bugle.
Oh, cool.
And back in the old days, I would have planted myself in front of a bar, just drank, not eaten any of the food, and left at the end. But what I did this time was they offered tours of the aircraft carrier, so I took one, went on that and I noticed all the other people who took the tour, not drinkers, yeah. And then it was a big surprise, but the band that my company hired was Starship. You remember them?
Jefferson Starship.
We built this city.
The real band?
The real band.
Wow.
Yes. That was weird. But so the thing turned into like a rock and roll show. Huh. They also had the guy from the Romantics.
Oh, wow.
That's what I like about you.
I really know how to dance.
Yeah. And so I'm hanging out there and I'm actually at a concert, sort of. Right. I'm also wearing like a jacket and tie.
It's a simulated concert environment.
Right. But I'm like dancing and I'm hanging off of a pole and I'm like, this is great. And, I'm not like the biggest fan of Starship. I like Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, but this is like what's left over for
it's not
years later.
It's just the Starship portion.
It's Starship. And it's funny because the next day I'm flying home and I ran into the guitar player in the Delta Club, and I talked to him for like an hour about music. So that was pretty neat.
That's awesome.
But I got back to the hotel. I stayed up until like 11. I was I'm like, that was amazing. Right. I had a great time. And I realized that, every year that you stay sober, like things happen. Like you continue to change and evolve in the things that I thought forever I would be doomed to like just having like a moderately interesting evening, but I had a great time. And then we went to Costa Rica the next week for vacation, and that was fantastic. And there was not a lot of drinking going on there that I felt like needed to be done. I don't really. I mean, we did a lot of outdoor stuff. Going to the jungle, going to bird watching, all that kind of stuff. So whatever. But we got back, and then it was my sister-in-law's wedding.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
And weddings are always tricky.
Especially because this one was going till 1 a.m. So I knew in advance that it's going to start at 7 and it's going to go to 1 a.m. And I was like, fuck me. Like, I don't even like to stay up past like 10 o'clock anymore, right? So we go to the wedding. And, of course, everyone starts with the champagne and everything early and get through the ceremony, go to the reception. It's a Long Island wedding, right? So if you've ever encountered one of these.
I had one.
Okay, there you go. So it's like the cocktail hour is like its own little reception, right? It's an hour of open bar and everything. I go in and I go up there. And I'm like, do you have any non-alcoholic beer? Not fully expecting them to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But they had like an O'Doul's. So I'm like, all right, I'll take an O'Doul's. So I get an O'Doul's. They put it in a glass for me. I take 3 sips. I'm like, this is fucking garbage.
It's disgusting.
I leave it on the table. I get like a seltzer water. But then we go into the main reception. There's a champagne toast. And they give me the champagne in the glass. It's on the table already. I pick it up. I do the thing. I bring it up to my nose. I smell it. I tilt it. And then I just put it back.
You just pretended?
Yeah, I just pretended.
I've done that before.
And I was like, I could just shoot this thing back and nobody would be nonetheless. And that thought still fucking creeps into my head every once in a while. Like, maybe I should just drink this flute of champagne.
And then what?
Who would ever know? Right. And then
you would know.
I would know.
It would drive you fucking crazy.
It would. I would have to would have felt terrible.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it. But But then I go out on the dance floor, and
We need a video of this.
there are videos.
Yes.
There are
videos floating around of Mike dancing.
And I just danced my ass off for like 3 hours, and no booze, nothing. And I thought I would feel inhibited, and I thought I was not. I was all of a sudden, I was so secure with my sober self.
Happy, joyous, and free?
I was.
Maybe?
I was fucking happy, joyous,
You hear that,
motherfucking
folks?
free. I couldn't believe it.
And you didn't go to AA, and you're still happy, joyous,
I'm
and free?
still happy. I was not happy that I had to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, but it was okay.
You made the most of it.
I made the most of it. And there's great video of me and my wife dancing and having a great time. And that was twice in like a span of a couple months that I went out, I did a thing that I was kind of like, I don't know about this thing. And it ended up being fantastic. So sobriety is fucking great, man.
Well, yeah, and I think I'm having the same experience, and it's a lot of it for me is expectations. And when I set, what I've been doing is I'm setting expectations for myself at these events that I'm having a good time no matter what,
So
regardless.
You go into it with the idea that you're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I tell myself.
Huh.
I used to have to say it louder, but now it's more automatic.
Because you're much more social than we are. Like you guys are out all the time doing stuff with people that, like, I can't imagine going to the wine line with a bunch of people who are just drinking. I would pass on that.
It's hard for me, but I do it because I know it's good for me. It's good for our relationships.
Yeah.
But it's good. And I don't know. It's also tiresome. In that I'm tired. I mean, when I say tiresome, I like the people a lot. My wife and I have a blast, but I'm exhausted.
It's not about the people. Sometimes it's just about the setting, and honestly, we should go to the wine line. You and me and the wives. If the food is good enough.
Food is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can let them have wine, and then we can eat food.
It's a cool scene too. It's like sort of couchy, loungy, like,
because I kind of miss that sometimes, like dressing up like an adult and going out and
it's like playing pretend, like
exactly.
Fun.
I'm still trying to shake off the fucking pandemic stink. Like I became so isolated,
Yeah, I think we're all kind of going through that a little bit, and for me, it came back too fast. But now I'm like acclimating to it because life just hit me in the face.
Yes.
When
it did come back too fast. It scared me. I wanted to run back into my little shell.
It was horrifying. But that's the way it's been for me. It's the way it's going for Mike. The longer you stay sober, the easier it gets, the more fun you have.
Yeah.
And the more you just don't give a shit about, like, I'll speak for myself. We went to this not all inclusive, but it was one of these resort type places in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't give a fuck about the alcohol.
Right.
I didn't, envy my wife holding whatever drink she had. I didn't look at the other guy in the hot tub looking at his drink going, man, I wish that could be me. I was just having a good time. And that's like, for me, that's success in recovery. Like, I feel like I'm not tortured by the constant thought of, man, I wish I could have a drink.
Would you say that alcohol has become a small and insignificant part of your life?
I think so.
That's what Annie Grace said is the eventual goal of This Naked Mind and other programs like that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll take a little break before we get to the main thing. But I do want to talk a little bit about Shatterproof.
Shatterproof, yes.
So if you or anyone you know is looking for treatment for a substance abuse disorder, you should check out Shatterproof's website, www.treatmentatlas.org. It's a free and confidential way to search for treatment that might be appropriate to you. And if you've received treatment for addiction, be of service to the rest of us and leave a review to help others make the decision about where to go for help. To leave a review, go to Treatment Atlas, find your treatment program, and take a couple of minutes to leave a review. Treatment Atlas currently includes providers in 12 states, with more on the way. I'm not going to read all of them, but... There are 12 of them. So look for a Shatterproof walk this fall by going to www.shatterproof.org to find a walk in a city near you and to register to join or create a team. Join a Shatterproof walk to honor those who have lost their lives to the disease of addiction, celebrate those who are living in recovery, and bring hope to the millions still suffering. So I created a Shatterproof walk team for this fall in New York. The walk is on October 28th. You should join me and whoever else
I think I'm
is going to come.
Am I going to that too?
You could.
Okay.
You have to join the team.
Okay.
Go to Shatterproof and walk and join the team.
Yeah, we're
And all you other Monksters who live in the tri-state area may want to come and do that.
Yeah, it's kind of that was kind of my dream actually with this show, is that we would one day do something like this.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it.
I am definitely feeling like that's going to be a fun time. I don't know. Maybe afterwards we can go to Katz's and get some deli or something. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Speaking of Katz's, DopeyCon is coming up, and
when is that, by the way?
I was going to find out before the show so I could help. Because I'm going to be there for sure. And I was talking to Dave about it, and he said it would probably be okay, if we did a little informal Monkster meetup at DopeyCon.
Really?
Yes.
We should probably figure out what day it is.
We should figure out. I think it's I don't want to say the wrong date, but it's going to be cool. There's going to be a lot of Monksters there, mostly Dopey Nation people, but half of us are, I think, also Dopey fans. But it's going to be a really cool event in New York City, celebrating recovery, and there's a lot of really cool speakers. I think Anna Lemke. There's a lot of the guests that have been on are going to be there.
Cool. There's also the Shatterproof walk in San Francisco that was going to take place over Veterans Day weekend. The walk itself was canceled, but there is an informal Monkster meetup happening in San Francisco. So save the date for the Monkster meetup in San Francisco, November 11th and 12th. Families, friends, etc., all are welcome.
That's an official Monkster meetup.
It is. Saturday, November 11th, we think we'll probably spend the day exploring San Francisco, Chinatown, Union Square, Haight-Ashbury, Golden Gate Park. Maybe we can do some heady bong rips in the park or something, drop some acid, go visit the Grateful Dead house. Sunday, November 12th, and this is kind of what I'm looking forward to. You head north across the Golden Gate Bridge, taking the beauty of Marin County, Muir Woods, Point Reyes, National Seashore, etc. So you would be making your own hotel and travel arrangements and meet us for all or part of the weekend. You can RSVP to gboyken@gmail.com, gboyken@gmail.com, which will help for planning purposes. My intention is to go with my son, Jack, and Ben is coming as well.
Wow.
We're going to visit a college or two for Jack, I think, while we're out there.
Cool.
And then join all or part of the weekend. Definitely Muir Woods on Sunday. If I can make Saturday work, I'll make Saturday work. So
wow,
yeah,
that sounds like fun. So please,
all are welcome.
All are welcome.
Yeah, and if I know who's coming ahead of time, I'll bring you all T-shirts, because I still have a box of T-shirts that's collecting dust and small animals.
Our merch game is weak. We're going to step it up.
Yeah. Speaking of stepping it up, I got to step up the stairs and go to the bathroom. So let's say we...
we'll be right back after these words.
Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back.
Hi.
I only drank like one cup of coffee before you got here, but I feel like I peed out like the contents of the Long Island Sound. It was very weird.
Yeah, I've had those.
Good
moments.
Radio, isn't it?
That's great.
I'm old.
Emptying the bladder.
When you know better,
you do better.
But sometimes doing better depends on what tools are available to you. What tools are available to you, Nat?
All kinds of things. I mean,
as two men in recovery from alcohol use disorder,
that's me.
We know how difficult it can be to seek help for a disease that's so stigmatized. If you're struggling to get sober, SoberLink can help. SoberLink's remote alcohol monitoring system was specifically designed to help you in your recovery. It's not just some breathalyzer you buy at the store. Small enough to fit in your pocket and discreet enough to use in public or in front of the kids, SoberLink devices combine facial recognition, tamper detection, and real-time results so friends and family know instantly that you're sober and working towards your recovery goals. This system would have been a game changer for Nat and I during early recovery, when every bit of accountability helps.
Yes, I really think that I can't. I really think I can't think. I really can't think of a better tool for tracking and sharing progress and rebuilding trust in relationships.
Make 2023 a memorable one, at least what's left of it. Visit www.soberlink.com/middle-ages.
And Mike will middle-your ages.
To sign up and receive $50 off your device. Yeah. Okay.
We're just synchronized sighing.
Yeah.
Yo, SoberLink, I just want to say that they're a really great sponsor. We're really happy to have them on board. We did a schlocky read of their ad, but
that wasn't schlocky.
You know,
it was pretty kind of fucking professional, if you ask me.
Our tongues were firmly planted in our cheek.
What are you talking about?
I just don't want them to feel like we're...
I totally believe in SoberLink's mission.
I believe, but I want to make sure the monksters believe it. It works.
Did I sound like I was being sarcastic?
No, not you, but I thought, we have fun with it. I just don't know what kind of sense of humor they have.
I actually did it kind of straight today, I thought.
Well, maybe I wasn't. See, it's all in my head. But I want to say, SoberLink, Grant Boykin uses it.
Used it. I don't think he uses it anymore.
And he got a long way. So definitely reach out to SoberLink. It's a great way to track your progress and make your family feel better that you're actually not drinking.
It's all about accountability.
Middle-ages.
Whether it's accountability to yourself or accountability to somebody else. Take the breathalyzer thing, breathe into it, and send it to your friends and family.
And you can't trick it with your dog breathing on it.
Right, because of facial recognition.
Not only that, they can tell if it's dog breath.
Really?
I think.
I don't know.
I think it can tell the difference.
It's an amazing device, regardless.
Yeah.
So, all right. We had to have some topic for this show.
Yes.
Because, otherwise it would just be you and me talking for an hour or two. So I was going through the Netflix about a month ago, and I came across Painkiller, which, it talks about the origins of the opioid crisis. It follows the Oxy-Contin's trail of destruction from Richard Sackler, who was played by Ferris Bueller, who's the former chairman and president of Purdue Pharma, of course, to the middlemen and the sales reps and everything. So it's basically the same story as the other show with Michael Keaton. Which
that was the first thing I noticed. I was like,
Dope sick, I guess. But it was a really weird magical realism, psychedelic version of the Sackler story and the Oxy-Contin story, because it purported to get inside Richard Sackler's head, which is a place that nobody has ever been and nobody should ever go.
Yeah.
And so so Matthew Broderick did a interesting job acting as Dr. Richard Sackler. And I think the only way people know Sackler to sort of base a portrayal on is from the deposition that he gave in the civil case, right? And he definitely came across as kind of a weird dude, but I don't know. I think Painkiller took it a little too far.
Too far
and
how?
Because okay, so Matthew Broderick was wandering around his big mansion or Sackler's mansion up in Connecticut, and the smoke alarm was going off for the entire show. And I guess that was supposed to represent something in the background that he was hearing that he should pay attention to, that he didn't pay attention to. Maybe it was the fact that Oxy-Contin was, I mean, I have no idea what the showrunners or the directors were thinking. So that was weird. And then the other thing that was weird was the fact that his dead uncle kept appearing as like a bit of like a bit of underdone potato, indigestion.
Is that Shakespearean? Like seeing the ghost who's like haunting him, driving his actions,
right? He's haunted by his uncle's legacy, and his uncle shows up and yells at him, and then beats the shit out of him at the end of the show. It's just such a for destroying the legacy. Like it was just so weird, and I thought the acting was a little wooden and. I don't know. It just seemed like a low-rent version of Dope Sec.
Well, it reminded, maybe this will help sort of explain it. If anyone has seen W by Oliver Stone.
Okay.
With Josh Brolin, it's the same kind of sort of overly cartoonish caricature of George W. Bush is what Josh Brolin did, when it was a little funny. And everything all the weird behavior they showed was exaggerated to sort of drive home the point of this is what this person, this is what we think was going on. It's really just make it into a caricature. And I felt like Broderick was doing kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
He's a little crazy. He's sort of offbeat, even goes against the family. He's the one pushing them in a direction they didn't want to go. And I can see that. I heard all of the criticisms about it being poorly or overly acted, but I don't know. It was kind of, I don't know. I think they did it deliberately, for sure.
Yeah, I thought Dopesick did it better. In terms of the dynamics within the Sackler family, and the guy who played Dr. Richard Sackler in Dopesick was much more menacing and sort of like dark. Yeah, and because Matthew Broderick, like, you put a lot of makeup on him, but to me, he still looks like fucking Ferris Bueller. I can't get over that. But one thing they would do in Painkiller, though, is like, it wasn't just the scenes with Richard Sackler. It was also, like, for example, like the FDA examiner who was charged with overseeing the label process, or the approval process for Oxy-Contin. In real life, his name was Curtis Wright. He was played by this guy named Noah Harbster. Bushy beard, glasses, right? And if you don't remember the story about Curtis Wright, I mean, he became he was a serious roadblock for Purdue getting Oxy-Contin approved, but eventually he signed off on their application, saying that delayed absorption as provided by Oxy-Contin tablets is believed to reduce the abuse liability of the drug. Now, that was a false claim, anchored by those two words, "is believed," but that was enough to quell the anxiety of doctors and so forth and patients around the country. And then, of course, a year after that approval, Wright left the FDA and went to work for Purdue Pharma at a salary of $380,000 a year. But they kind of showed, like, they were telling the story, and then when they got to the point where they said that he left and he started working for Purdue at a higher salary, they showed him cavorting in a swimming pool, jumping up and down, like in this really sort of psychedelic montage scene. Yeah. And I guess you either like that kind of thing or you don't. And I didn't actually watch Dopesick. I watched Painkiller first, and then I watched Dopesick right afterwards. Wow. And the juxtaposition of those two really got me, because I thought
it's stark difference. Yeah. That was a ghost.
That was my pad accidentally hitting the Week in Weird button.
Sorry.
But, I mean, Michael Keaton, sorry.
Batman.
Is definitely, always my favorite Batman.
I just call him Batman.
He's just such a better actor than,
Yeah, Broderick is definitely not Michael Keaton, for sure.
I mean, Keaton played a doctor who got addicted to Oxy-Contin and prescribed it a lot for his patients, and I just thought that was
it really humanized the doctors, because a lot of people demonize doctors, maybe rightfully so here and there. But what they showed in Dopesick is the doctors were tricked too, or they were pulled along, and by the time they realized that it was too late, or they were addicted themselves. So it definitely humanized them.
I think some doctors were pulled along, and I think others just took advantage of an opportunity, like the Purdue there's some sales reps did.
There's some egregious examples of that.
I mean, I forget which documentary it was or dramatization it was, where folks left West Virginia to drive to Florida because the Florida had way more pill mills, so you could just and down
there was a doctor behind that.
Yeah,
every
of course,
single time
writing prescriptions, and a lot of those guys went to jail, but not enough of them.
Right.
And they were both of these shows were extremely, hard on the Sackler family, as they should be. But I think they kind of gave the government a little bit of a pass, I thought, because it's the structure of the way these drugs get approved and the revolving door between the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry that is just as responsible for Oxy-Contin finding its way into the public at the levels it did as Purdue Pharma. I mean, corporations are going to go out there and make money. That's what they do, and whether it's, something that's so obviously deadly as Oxy-Contin, or whether it's like a chemical that's used in our food or on crops or something like that. I mean, these companies are they don't have a conscience.
Yeah, we like to imagine that they do, and I think that documentaries and these movies kind of show where we're all human and these people are extremely flawed. And when you take a person who's extremely flawed and they're a doctor and they're an entrepreneur and they're in a position of power, you know, and make the wrong, it's just like it was a confluence of horrible decisions or thoughtless actions by just a constellation of people in power and all, you know, bound by money. And so it just, man. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, and the thing that really kind of got to me was at the end of the day, I'm watching both these shows, and I know how the story ends, right? And the story ends with nobody going to jail and the Sacklers keeping all their money for the most part.
Yeah.
And Purdue Pharma in bankruptcy. So everybody who worked at Purdue Pharma who had nothing to do with the marketing of Oxy-Contin lost their jobs, you know, when the company declared bankruptcy, except for the guys at the top, like the Sacklers. Now, Are they pariahs in social society now? I guess so, but it's kind of easy to be a pariah if you still are worth like, you know, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to hang out in the salons of Europe or with other billionaires. I mean, Richard Sackler now is 78 years old, right? And he's living in a $1.7 million house in Boca Raton, which is really not a big house, but I guess he's got to kind of play it cool because he doesn't want to end up in jail. But it is noteworthy that at the beginning of August, the U.S. Supreme Court took a look at the deal that Purdue Pharma had entered into, which is, you know, they would pay whatever it was, how many billions of dollars.
I think it was $5 billion.
$5 billion, $8 billion, something like that.
Oh, yeah, 8.
But then they would be basically immune from any future lawsuits by anybody and unprosecutable on the criminal side.
Indemnified, you might say.
Yeah, I guess you could say. Well, not really.
No.
But so is that, you know, justice being done? And Painkiller and God, the other show. Dopesick. Painkiller and Dopesick treated the resolution against Purdue Pharma in two totally different ways. In Painkiller, it was shown as a failure that the U.S. attorney who prosecuted Purdue Pharma and only got a couple of misdemeanor convictions and a few $100 million, it was portrayed as a failure. But in Dopesick, they made it seem as though the same deal was like the best they could get, and it was justice, you know. And I mean, I'm much more in the Painkiller camp when it comes to deciding which one of those narratives I'd like to embrace, right? I mean, because, you know, hundreds of thousands of people died, and there's compelling evidence that Purdue Pharma and Sackler himself knew what he was doing, and did it anyway. I mean, awareness and conscious disregard.
Well, it's either manslaughter or murder. Which
I'd settle for either. Yeah. I would just settle for, you know, something less than that, as long as somebody goes to prison. Because if nobody goes to prison, they're just going to keep doing it because money is just fucking nothing. Like $1 billion is nothing to these people.
It really is. And it made me think though, like what would justice even look like? Like if he did go to jail, is that even can there even be justice in this scenario? And it's been so damaging to so many families and so many, like, how do you quantify justice in a situation like this?
Well, I mean, you're never going to get the people back that died. But right. I mean, you know, we live in a society where street drug dealers go to jail for, you know, 10 years and you know, corrupt corporate executives who make and market drugs that kill hundreds of thousands never go to jail.
No, and we wouldn't have room in the jails for them if they did. And it's just like...
Oh, we could make some room.
We could make room. Yeah. The other thing Painkiller did that I did like, so let me say something nice about Painkiller, is that they put the real people portrayed in the show would speak at the beginning of the chapter.
Yes.
So I did like that because it really put the human face. They're kind of like, this is a little cartoonish and wacky, but these are real people.
Right. Here's my daughter who died. Here's my son who died.
Yeah, that was powerful.
Yeah, it was. And certainly the story arc where they followed of, you know, so the show was broken up similar to DopeSick, Painkiller was broken up where you would see what was going on at Purdue. You'd see what was going on with the sales reps and how they tried to manipulate the doctors. And then they would also follow the story of a couple of people who, got prescribed Oxy-Contin for an injury at work and how they became addicted and how that addiction, destroyed their lives and how they eventually OD'd and died. Yeah. Right. And so I like the way they did that. And in Painkiller, it was a guy who owned his own tire garage,
that was sick.
And he hurt his back and he got prescribed and he took it as directed, but it wasn't working. It wasn't enough. So he kept taking more. And at the same time, Purdue Pharma is like, in their secret meetings, they're developing the strategy of how to get the doctors to prescribe more. They come up with the concept of breakthrough pain, which is like pain that comes through the dose. And the solution to that is to, of course, it's more Oxy-Contin, right? Take more.
Your fifth vital is
right.
What's your pain?
Right. And those pain charts went into every doctor's office in the country. And it was this concerted effort to make opioids, socially acceptable for the treatment of moderate and mild pain.
Yeah, and it would have worked if it didn't ruin so many people's lives.
I don't know how would that ever have worked?
Because if it wasn't addictive like they said.
Right.
Maybe.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
In a fantasy world where it was as advertised. Which clearly it was not.
It wasn't, but I don't know.
I want to say same old story, and that's what I thought before I watched it. If you've been listening to our show, we've been through these stories a lot. We covered Empire of Pain, but I still think it bears repeating. The level of disgust that I feel for the Purdue Pharma, the whole industry, and it's just magnified by these shows. But it's important, and I don't know what it means to get justice. I don't know what the end game is, but the fact that we're talking about it and it's out there, and doctors are not as free to prescribe it anymore. I mean, maybe that's the success. The fact that we're all talking about it. It's no longer a big. Same thing with big tobacco. Everybody knew it was bad for you, but the level to which it was like intentionally marketed, knowing it would kill people. It's sort of on par.
Well, none of those guys went to jail either,
right? What did they pay? $500 million or
see? So basically, you're setting a precedent that a company can come and market something incredibly dangerous, kill hundreds of thousands of people in the name of corporate profits for their shareholders, and then basically get away with paying a fine. Yeah. So, I mean, okay, Oxy-Contin is not going to be a problem anymore, but what's the next thing? What's the next drug that's going to be pushed on people? Because there's still no FDA oversight. There's still a revolving door between the government and the pharmaceutical companies. That hasn't changed. The senators are still in the pockets of big pharma.
So it's incumbent upon the consumer, like a lot of things, like alcohol, like cannabis now. It's incumbent upon us to be educated, to understand what we're getting into. If this has taught us anything over and over again, it is don't trust ads, marketing. Sometimes you ought to question your doctor, because you're not, always question what's going on.
That's really hard though, right? People are taught to trust their physician.
And it creates a real problem because of that.
Yeah.
But you got to protect yourself,
One thing I did like about DopeSick was, when Michael Keaton's character was trying to get sober and he couldn't do it by going to AA or going to traditional rehab. There was a doctor down there that was one of the first doctors that was prescribing Suboxone or naltrexone, I forget which one. And they had one scene where the girl who was also an addict met in the church with the AA leader in the community, and he told her that medically assisted treatment is no better than being on drugs, and it's the work of the devil and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this feeds right into my my distrust of the faith healing of Alcoholics Anonymous. And she the night before she was supposed to go on Suboxone, she ended up going and ODing.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time too. She, my last time before I go get on this stuff.
One last party.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's wise to keep in mind that the opioid crisis wasn't something that just happened. It wasn't a hurricane. It wasn't a flood. It was
not an accident.
It was something that was manufactured. It was manufactured by a company looking to make an egregious profit. And
you can make the case that it created fentanyl. The fentanyl problem was basically created by this whole opioid pandemic. I want to say it really is. I mean, an epidemic. It's a pandemic. And this is what we have now because of it.
The thing I didn't realize that I realized after watching these shows was that Purdue Pharma's initial response to reports that people were abusing the drug and that it was more addictive than it was thought to be was to immediately go and attack the people who were becoming addicted as moral reprobates and junkies and this kind of thing, and just dismiss them as human beings, which disgusting.
It is. And you felt it when I was in the system. You felt like you were not human.
Yeah.
And lots of people, I think, went through that. It's horrible.
And then they give, and then when you can't afford the Oxy 80s, which are, going for $100 on the street, somebody sells you black tar heroin. Because
seems like a genius move.
Is the Mexican cartels saw an opportunity in there to sort of fit a need, and then that became very popular. And then when that became too expensive and bulky to transport, fentanyl became the new opiate.
And no poppies necessary, no farming.
And so today you're still dealing with the legacy of Oxy-Contin addiction by the 100,000 people a year that are dying of overdoses to fentanyl.
And what would Gabor Mate say? Not why the drugs, but why the pain? Why are we so in need of pain relief? Or maybe we're just convinced we are by the marketing. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we live in a society where the very idea is that we shouldn't suffer any pain at all, right?
Right.
Like we should anesthetize ourselves.
Pain is un-American.
Yeah. Well, pain, if you're in pain, you start questioning why you're in pain, and you might want to actually go and do something about it, right? Take a pill.
Take a pill.
Take a pill.
A painkiller, if you will.
Painkiller.
And that is our discussion on Painkiller.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Let's get the discussion going. Send an email to mike.r@middleagesrecovery.com. Post on the Facebook page. We got a lot of monksters on there chopping it up, discussing it.
Chop it up and snort it on the Facebook page.
Right. Or the Patreon. We've got an Inner Sanctum Discord group. But I would love to hear what you think. I know some of you are going to say, ugh, again with the Sacklers and the Purdue, but it's appropriate. And we thought that this limited series on Netflix, Painkiller, was a good opportunity to sort of kick it around again and see where we're at.
Yes. All right. You know what it's time for?
What's it time for?
Clear your throat, because it's time for Recovery in the Middle Ages. Oh, no.
That's what it is, but it's something else.
It's time for Recovery in the News.
Recovery in the News. All right, recovery in the news, recovery in the news, recovery in the news, motherfucker. Yeah.
I can't believe that is the thing that we are known for.
Well, better than nothing, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess.
Recovery in the news.
Very important Recovery in the News story today. Comes from our local patch, journalistic
DOB patch.
integrity. Long Island's cocaine chihuahua's owner drove 140 miles an hour to vet hospital, says court document. Apparently, the 18-week-old pups were Narcaned to reverse a coke overdose on May 7th. That seems like bad medicine, number one, but the owner pled not guilty on Monday. So it comes out of Central Islip. Right. The Long Island owner of Chihuahua puppies that somehow gobbled cocaine and fentanyl this spring told investigators that he drove
I don't know where he got it.
140 miles an hour to get them to the vet hospital where they were revived from overdoses with Narcan, court documents show. Suffolk County of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Society, SPCA, responded to a local animal hospital after a toxicology report showed 2 Chihuahua puppies roughly 15 weeks old who were named Freddie and Tonto. They were suffering from the symptoms of a cocaine overdose, which can be lethal. And Narcan was administered to reverse the effects. I guess the patch reporters are not the...
I think they had fentanyl in there, too.
They did.
Because all cocaine contains fentanyl, so...
They were also severely lethargic when they were brought in, right? They were crying and limp with slowed breathing, so hospital staff suspected drugs. And at that time, they weren't positive, so they did a lab test, a tox report, which in fact came back positive for both cocaine and fentanyl. 18-week-old Freddie tested positive for cocaine, and then Tonto the next day came in, and they had to be revived with Narcan after they presented as being severely lethargic, crying, limp with slowed breathing.
Wow.
So it's not just humans that are affected by the opioid crisis.
Well, they went to rehab
as well.
They were put in rehab immediately after, but yeah, that's islip.
They don't know how much drugs they took or how many drugs they took. It's just an unfortunate situation that you don't know how the animals got into those drugs, a spokesperson said. The owner has refused to surrender the dogs, by the way, which are held until are in jail, in doggy jail, until disposition of the case.
They have drug court coming up.
The owner pled not guilty to 2 counts of animal cruelty misdemeanor at his arraignment Monday in First District Court in Central Islip. He was previously charged with second-degree menacing with a weapon, and he entered a plea of not guilty, and an order of protection was issued to the dogs against the, he probably threatened a human with the gun.
Okay. This is a stable individual.
So the order of protection was not issued between him and the dogs. I don't think you can do that, actually. His attorney, Matt Tohey of Huntington, could not be reached for comment. He previously told Patch that Ziomba, who's the owner's name, maintains his innocent, and he is not the means for the dogs ingesting the drugs.
Well, what is his explanation for how 2 puppies found all of this cocaine? What's the excuse?
Maybe they were holding it for a friend.
Yeah, it wasn't mine. We laugh, but that's very sad. Dogs are innocent, and but what the fuck?
Right.
Recovery in the news is taking a serious decline.
Oh, yeah, it has.
Recovery in the news, recovery.
I had another one, but I think we'll save it for next week. The one I'm saving for next week was that new gene therapy dramatically reduces booze consumption in alcoholic monkeys. So we're continuing with the theme.
I mean, we're trying to combine weak and weird with the recovery in the news, but
is that what we're doing?
It's what it sounds like.
Okay.
But have no fear, weak and weird will reappear.
Oh, is it appearing today or no?
I'm sorry.
No. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so I guess that's it.
Yeah. That about does it for today. I know I had a great time. Did you?
I had a really good time. It's great to be back.
Great to be back. Thank you so much for listening. Visit us at middleagesrecovery.com, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter or X. So, tweet us a twat, you twit, support your favorite show, give us a 5-star review, join our private Facebook group, or simply write and say hello. We love meeting new monksters and chopping it up on the discussion groups. If you want a higher level of going back and forth and what is that called? Talking, go to...
We've done enough of that today.
Yes. Patreon.com/recovery in the Middle Ages and join our Discord, Inner Sanctum. And finally, the best way to help the show is to share it with a friend.
Please share it with a friend.
If you get something out of our little show, please share the love and grow the RMA movement. And as we say, non proficiat perfectum.
Progress, not perfection.
See you next time.
And stay fresh, cheese bags.
We're back, bitches.
every day.